Great to be with you again on Locked On Texas Tech on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day, always free and available on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts. Now the number one sports podcast network in the world. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. And right now, new customers can bet only $5. And if your bet wins, you're getting $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. So download the FanDuel app today with the only Chris Level. I'm KC Cowan. Chris, great to be back with you. Appreciate everybody out there for making us their first listen for today's special edition. It's the Locked On Texas Tech Matador Mob Mailbag. We've got plenty to dive into today, Chris, as we are looking ahead to week one of the college football playoff. We'll get to some games and some thoughts beyond just Oregon and James Madison. Also want to get to some hoops thoughts with you. Of course, some of this in advance of what we are soon to see there in New York City. Saturday, it's Tech and Duke. So depending upon when you listen to this episode, you may have seen that result already come in. But we'll get to some things happening with Grant McCasland and the Red Raiders. Want to begin our conversation, however, with a popular subject this week relating to the Red Raiders, relating to the Big 12 Conference, and some others. May have seen reported this week the Big 12, the ACC, and the SEC indicating some schedule changes and or requirements. And that led to some comments from Red Raider head coach Joey McGuire when it comes down to Tech now looking for Power 4 non-conference scheduling agreements. Questions about specifically the mention of North Carolina State, which is kind of interesting, Chris, but James, Nick, Lance, and Jay. I said James already. Is that two Jameses? Either way, double down on the Jameses. Asking about, in general, how Tech will pursue facilitating this and the NC State angle, if you've got a feel for that yet. What are you making of it?
Well, I don't think you have to alter anything with your schedule in the foreseeable future simply because you're playing the 9 conference games. And I think that Oregon State, even though they were Power 5 when you I believe they're grandfathered in. I think there's a phase where them and Washington State and like Notre Dame counts. There's a few other schools that would have counted here, and I think that you're okay for next year. But then after that, NC State, the return game from 5 or 6 years ago when you went to Raleigh on a Saturday night. I think it was Joey's first year. I think that's right. They are finally making the return trip in 27 in Lubbock. So that would be the year after. The year after that, you're at Mississippi State, so more cowbell. Mississippi State will play in Lubbock in 2029. And then you start the Arkansas. There's the Vegas Arkansas game in 30. There's the at Arkansas game in 31. And then the following year, maybe 2032, that's when you maybe have to, unless something changes, unless there's a contract that is somebody's about to back out, or I'm just telling you what's in place right now. I'm not saying it can't be altered or tweaked, but that is where it stands for the next, say, 4 to 5, 6 years. It appears that right now, 2032 would have to be the first time that you would have to make an adjustment to comply. But what does the world look like in college athletics by that time?
Or at large.
Correct. Well, yes, generally speaking. If the Oregon State is not grandfathered in, that would be news to me. Okay. I believe that this was because you're operating the same way that you've been in compliance. I mean, because the rule is really largely in place right now, and you complied this year. So that's why I'm saying I don't think that there's anything new from the Big 12 standpoint. There's just some other leagues that are now going from 8 to 9 conference games, and then making that everybody's on the 10th non-conference game. But we're dealing with so many changes on the fly, and going to be dealing with some changes on the fly that because when the playoffs expand, and it will, the bowl system is going to get tweaked a bit. The calendar is going to get tweaked a bit more. I tend to think that Joey is onto something, generally speaking, when they talk about moving things up a bit, because I think that late window, here's things that I know to be true. that I don't envision changing, that you will have to continue to work around. There is that time frame in late August, week 0, call it whatever you want, that August 20th through September 1st, whatever, that is untouched large in part by the NFL. Those are preseason games and all that. So I think there's some opportunities there for college football to move things up a bit and to maximize and be okay with the TV networks and all those things. There's also always going to be a component of the bowl system in place, simply because it is too valuable on the TV inventory from, say, December the 26th through New Year's Day. There's that week. Bad football games, opt-outs, whatever, it doesn't matter. They just garner too much TV ratings. The folks, the powers that be, aren't going to want to give that up. There's too much that's needed to fill space in that time. People are just generally conditioned to want to turn on any kind of football at that point. I'm not certain that the December the 17th, the December the 21st bowl games are garnering a rating, but large in part that week between Christmas and New Year's, there's just a lot of money to be made. And
Pretty
so
sure we got a 10 a.m. kickoff this Friday. Probably going to get a rating and a breakfast beer from somebody out there.
There you go. So I just think those are things that won't really change. And New Year's Day will always be a thing, unless it falls on a Sunday, and then you have New Year's Day on January the 2nd for college football, so as to not get in the NFL's way. But that's what you're. Yeah, and that was all about non-conference scheduling. But this is what I just think there's some going to continue to be some tweaks to this thing. So get ready for more meaningful football much earlier, if that makes sense.
All right, thank you for that question. Ken was asking about college football playoff games this weekend that most intrigue you, besides obviously Oregon and James Madison we're looking at. And Anon also asked, who's the worst fan base in the college football playoff, and why is it Oregon? His words. Wouldn't even be my pick, so those are his words.
Yeah.
Ole Miss and the Aggies. Swap the order if anybody was curious. I just wanted to dive in there with my answer real quick. Sorry.
I mean, the two games that I will pay attention to the most are the two, and it's funny that this question was asked right after we had the conversation we just had. Why would you have I would think Saturday afternoon and Saturday evening would be prime time, put your best games of the CFP in place at that time, right? Because they have the CFP could control when these games were going to be played, these 4 games. Well, they put the best 2, OU and Alabama, on Friday night, and then the next one, Miami at A&M at 11 a.m. Saturday morning. Why? Right. Why would they do this? Because the NFL's got a little doubleheader rolling out on Saturday afternoon and Saturday evening. So you're gonna not mess with it. Like, hey man, we're gonna tip our cap and let you do your thing. We'll do our thing, and so that's when you're getting Ole Miss and Tulane and Oregon and James Madison. I'll be watching all of it, consuming all of it. The 2 games that intrigue me the most are the game tonight and the game first thing in the morning, just because I think those are the most. And I'll be rooting for the 2 road teams. I will be rooting for Roll Tide and the U, just because that's just my personal opinion. I would like to see them move on, and I won't be rooting for either home team. So there you go. As far as terrible fan bases, all of them are, really, except for the Red Raider fan base, right? I mean, yeah.
Don't even get us started on these Dukes of James Madison.
Yeah.
Just an outlaw bunch if I've ever seen one. Yeah, definitely a huge Hurricane fan this weekend, and just hoping for some misery in Norman and in Oxford. Would love to see something upsetting an apple cart there. And if you can pull something off in Eugene, Oregon, we're all fine with that as well. All right, thank you for that question there. This question here, Chris, asking about a name and a story, I guess, that's gotten some attention beyond just Texas Tech, but maybe Texas Tech entangled in this also. The name is Kyrie Walker. The league, the G League, that is. We're in a bold new world as far as college basketball is concerned, and now I guess some opportunity for some fishing in a G League pond. when it comes to building your roster. Some others have. The question is just simply about whether or not Texas Tech is actually tied or connected to this player and or tied or connected to this kind of process. This is from our man Ryan. First, today's episode brought to you by Wayfair, and the holidays always show up faster than we expect. And if you're still putting together gifts or getting your home ready for guests, Wayfair has got you covered. Whether you need a quick room refresher, new bedding, or those final seasonal touches, Wayfair makes it easy to get what you need fast. Wayfair truly is your one-stop shop for everything home, with decor, furniture, kitchen essentials, and gifts for every style and every budget, all delivered quickly and easily. Their selection is massive, making it easy to find everything in one place. And it's perfect for gifting too, with guides, tons of options, and something for everyone and any budget. And of course, no massive delivery fees, no stress, just the best way to get your home holiday ready without running around all over town. So get last minute hosting essentials, gifts for all your loved ones, and decor to celebrate the holidays for way less. Head to wayfair.com right now to shop all things home. That's wayfair.com, WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel, and football is in full force, and FanDuel's keeping you stocked with action every game day with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet only $5, and if your bet hits, you're getting $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Player props, building a same-game parlay, or even jumping in live as the action unfolds. Any way you like it, FanDuel has you covered. Quick, easy, and secure every time. If you're ready to play, download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. Fishing in a G League pond? When it comes to building your roster, some others have. The question is just simply about whether or not Texas Tech is actually tied or connected to this player and or tied or connected to this kind of process. This is from our man Ryan.
Yeah, I think this is more about the situation that you're in, that you would be involved here. I don't think they intended to be having a need. I think this is a player that's got a semester left to play of eligibility. And I don't know if this is more of a Joey Hawkins scenario, or he can just kind of, if you get him, I know people, I may have like dated myself there. Joey Hawkins was a football player years ago that was a kind of a tight end type that was 6'8", 6'9", that came in and was just kind of a dirty work guy for Bob Knight years ago, and joined this semester when the football season was over with. He was a role player, kind of did a little dirty work. Coach Knight loved having him around because he did everything he asked, and he kind of pushed and shoved and rebounded and did a few things, and was just a piece to the puzzle that I think they were like, he was an older, more mature kid, all that stuff. I don't know what you could realistically expect here. And then it's also goes without saying, like, are you the team that lands him? I do think you're on the lookout, and that probably tells you what you need to know about your injury situation. So yeah, there you go. I hate this conversation just because it basically speaks to kind of where you're at right now, but it also suggests that you are turning over every rock. You're not willing to give up on the immediate. You are trying to. There's new rules in place, and that's why this player is available to continue to play for a period of time. So we'll see kind of what happens there. But yeah.
I think I said the wrong name too. Turner instead of Walker. That's my fault. Thank you for that question. This question here, I wanted to get into something a little bit further down the line as far as roster building is concerned for, I guess, all involved, but I think it's more in a football context. Charles was asking about tampering. How is it done? Does everyone do it? If that's the case, does it even actually exist?
Yeah, it's a word that gets thrown around. I think that I can't take those conversations seriously because there's too many legal ways to have conversations about, like, for example, if you are Texas Tech and Will Hammond gets hurt and you realize that this is a severe injury, and you're about to alter the course of your plan, and you're now going to be on the lookout for a quarterback. It is well within your right and completely legal to let the agent community know, hey, we are now looking for a quarterback. If one of your clients is, let us know. The end. That's not tampering. I think, but it's just a little bit more out in the open now, because used to tampering went on with like school would contact former high school coach. Hey, let them know if he doesn't like it where he's at or whatever. We have a need. We're interested. We recruited him out of high school. Whatever. That was and some of that is absolutely still going on too. I mean, technically, tampering is if you reach out to the player directly, like if a head coach, which is not going to happen, or would be very rare. Like, hey man, what's it going to take? Hey, we'll pay you to get into the portal. I don't know. You hear all these things, and I know you're on one side of this, and I know like one of Joey's very good friends and one of his confidants and one of the guys that he talks to on a, I think, daily, weekly basis is Jeff Traylor. Jeff Traylor was very outspoken at UTSA, basically saying this is not good for this sport, and he's on the opposite side of this thing compared to where like you are. He's trying to hold on to guys. His guys are all highly sought after because they can't afford to pay them enough. And it's just, that's why guys like that try to get to the jobs where you're on the other side of it. I mean, there's levels to this. There's a pecking order. It sucks for the quote unquote mid-major, the group of five. But that's just the reality of it. And it all comes down to, and I'm not saying everybody's operating like on the up and up, but generally speaking, agents and GMs and personnel folks are talking all the time. And the player and the actual school, there's not any necessarily direct communication, but because let me tell you, if you think that agents aren't the ones reaching out first to certain schools, and Joey said this week, he's like, I will call if it's a buddy of mine and I'll see that we're linked to a player. If it's a friend of mine and I know in the coaching industry, I'll call them and be like, hey, we're not linked to that guy. Don't believe that. Don't let an agent use Texas Tech to up the offer or whatever. I'll like shoot them straight, because Texas Tech's getting thrown around a lot to up the price. We've talked about this, and this is going to happen more and more. I'm sure there's agents out there that aren't real pleased with Joey, like going, dude, man, come on, let me work the game, dog. But he's trying to keep it, so anyway.
Well, one day it's another guy getting worked. Next day it's Joey getting worked, or at least some attempt. I wouldn't mind that. I get the agent thing, I guess, but why would you not if you were on the side that they're trying to game?
Yeah. And so James Blanchard, he sent something out there recently too, to where, because this is also some of the game that is having to be played. You've got current players, because what happens is Texas Tech, for example, there's going to be some big dollars thrown out to players that haven't done a thing, haven't won a Big 12 championship or anything, haven't been part of the culture here, that are going to be brought in that automatically are going to make more than some very important pieces that are at Texas Tech that you're going to lean on. And so that you get some younger players or some players that are kind of involved, but that feel like, hey man, I should be getting more, and they may have a difficult conversation with Blanche and his staff, or with Coach McGuire and his staff, and say, this is what it's going to take to keep me. And then you counter that offer. Well, it turns out they can't really get anywhere close to on the open market what you were offering. And then they go into the portal and it's like they feel bad about that, and they leave, and it should have never gotten to that point. So it's just tricky for players that haven't played a ton to get into the portal if they think they're going to make a lot more. And so there's a lot of misinformation out there, and all you can do is do what's right for your logo and your program in its entirety. And pride gets in the way, people in your ear get into the way, money gets into the way, and you just have to try to weigh it all out. What's worth it, the unknown or what I've got going on here? So to each his
luckily
own.
this time, Chris, all intersects with the time where a lot of these guys are headed back home, and we're talking to mama, we're talking to girlfriend, we're talking to high school coach, buddy, whatever. Hey, all of a sudden I'm back in town, and I think I got actually a new demand when it comes to the – we've seen that literally play out. And I believe it was an O-lineman walk out the door kind of as a result of that process, and Tech feeling like, okay, well, I guess things changed on the other side of a holiday break, and now our circumstances are changing. So you never know. And whether it's real or misinformation, obviously something to be vigilant of as well, to say the least. Okay, switching gears here. John is asking not to put carts ahead of horses, but if a connection was to be made with Brendan Sorsby, a popular topic of conversation this week, what does that timeline actually look like? Is there anything prior to January 2nd to be anticipating, or is it all January 2nd and then?
I can tell you that I had a, you've done this stuff as long as I have. You interact with a lot of people and have a lot of relationships and all those things. I had somebody reach out to me from the SEC the other day, and he said, "Hey, man, wasn't sure if you knew this or not, but Brendan Sorsby's coming to Texas Tech." And I was like, "Yeah, got a pretty good idea. I think that's in the works." He's like, "Well, that's what this general manager who's known Sorsby for a long time just told me." I'm like, "Good to know." That kind of more confirmation as to what we thought. And again, as we laid out in one of our shows this week, I think the only thing that prohibits that is possibility of the NFL. And if there's just like, man, we're guaranteeing you this or that, then I think that would, that there's just a chance that could happen. I'm not expecting that. I don't think Texas Tech is, but again, I think they've got their head on a swivel as well. But as far as like making it official or announcements, I think it'll get closer to, there's tea leaves. If you pay attention, there's things going on. There's wind blowing a certain way, right? And I think though that like officially and all that stuff, but I think that's the thing is like agents are allowed to operate how they want, and I think you can, and until there's not really a rule in place that prohibits any of that. And so I think that, some of this can be done without it being done, if that makes sense. Now we'll see. I've tried to lay this out as best I can. I've tried to look into the screen and tell you that you wanted a Texan, that you wanted maybe even a current Big 12 guy. I think people assume that was Levitt or, and again, I think Avery Johnson would have been of interest to you had he gotten to the portal. I think he's probably good under Colin Klein there, but that was never presented. But it was always about Brendan Sorsby, and I think it's been that way for a time.
All right, thank you for that question. Wes is asking about Will Hammond, and he asked this question: can you give us a feel for the Will Hammond side of getting Brendan Sorsby, and do you feel like if Sorsby becomes a Red Raider, we have somehow actually upgraded the QB spot, even in comparison to a healthy but still green Will Hammond? First, today's episode brought to you by Rocket Money. Ever feel like your money can disappear each month? It can happen fast. A few subscriptions here, impulse buy there. Suddenly the numbers in your bank account don't match the numbers in your head. Rocket Money helps you get clarity, track every dollar, and stay in control of your finances, because managing your money shouldn't feel like a second job. Rocket Money does the heavy lifting for you so you can save more and stress less. Rocket Money will find subscriptions you forgot you were paying for and help you clean them all up quickly. And seeing all of your spending on one dashboard makes it easier to understand where your money is going. Plus, it's great how Rocket Money automatically builds budgets based on past spending and keeps you on track without overthinking it. And with the app, you're going to find good times to save each month and keep consistent with your financial goals. Take control of your finances and cancel your unwanted subscriptions with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/locked-on today. That's rocketmoney.com/locked-on. rocketmoney.com/locked-on. Can you give us a feel for the Will Hammond side of getting Brendan Sorsby? And do you feel like if Sorsby becomes a Red Raider, we have somehow actually upgraded the QB spot, even in comparison to a healthy but still green Will Hammond? I guess if all things were sort of equal, even though you wouldn't have ever drawn it up or asked for this. What do you think?
Yeah. Did you upgrade over Will Hammond, a healthy Will Hammond? Is that what I'm hearing? Is that to sum it up? Yeah. You would have never done this if Will hadn't gotten hurt. This was the keys to his. He was the dude, and they were going to be. And I think he would have been really good. But yeah, I mean, I could see where somebody would say that just because you're getting there's some yes and no. I think you're getting more experience. You are getting. A player that I think that if they surround him with what I think that they can surround him with, that was a lot of word salad there to get to that point. Then I think he can excel. I think he can be an award winner next year if they get their wish on what they can put around him. And I don't know if the expectation would have been that way for Will, but I think people they've seen like the Will, they're like, woo, like he should be starting. What are you doing? And then you've also seen okay, I kind of get what, like what there's some inexperience there. There's some this or that. But this is the best thing for Texas Tech football. It's the best thing for Will Hammond, and it may end up being the best thing for Brendan Sorsby as well. He's better than Raiola. He's better than, I think he's he's the same as Sam Leavitt. It's just that I think that though this is one of the better quarterbacks that we've seen come out into the portal, and I think that Texas Tech kind of got their wish in him entering the portal, and he everybody may end up a happy camper after this thing's all said and done. We'll see, but it also vaults you to. I mean, Texas Tech is going to end up. When they're portal class, I'd be shocked if you're not the favorite to win the league next year. I'll just say that.
Hey, it was fun this time around.
Yes, it was.
I'm willing to run it back.
But you weren't the favorite, and it was weird because now there's all these expectations, and you've blown everybody out. And then again, it'll be a different team next year. I don't know if you'll be as good defensively. It may be impossible for you to be as good defensively, but Joey will play up those doubts. I can guarantee you that if that's what people think too.
All right, thank you for that question. Brian, Josh, and Randall were asking questions to this effect, asking, are we or others positioning ourselves still for another conference realignment round?
Yes. I think that's the grand plan here, why you're trying to put your best foot forward with its being football and basketball and different things. I think you're willing to invest at the front porch of the university. I think that they saw an opportunity and that brass ring, they're trying to grab it. And again, all of these things like on Sorsby and this aspect, this is all my opinion. These are just educated, but it's pretty clear that the leadership, the alignment was very intentional. And these are things we've discussed before. It was about being better at these programs and trying to go win a title, but there's also a bigger thought process involved here too. You're trying to grow your enrollment of your university over the next decade to up to 50 or get over that, and enrollment in a lot of places has been a bit stagnant. And so, what's the way that? It's the Flutie effect is what, a lot of the leadership and that people are like, Flutie effect. Well, 1984, Doug Flutie throws the Hail Mary. They beat Miami. And all of a sudden the applications for Boston College went way up and all that. And so, and there's certain schools in the SEC, like the Nick Saban effect is real too. When Nick Saban was at Alabama and Alabama started getting it going, their enrollment went up. This is just how it works, man. And so your goal is that's why this wasn't some one-time deal. You're all about creating atmosphere. You're about creating a winning culture. You want this to be the place to be. You're going to continue to be very newsy and try to tell your story as it relates to, but it all comes back to the Front Porch University, which is your football and basketball program, and slightly tilted toward football there. That's just how it works.
Thank you for that question. This question here, this is from Stuart asking about insight into our group of pass catchers, saying, Chris, you mentioned going after one or two in the portal. Do we have any thoughts also about potential returners? This is another one here from Trisha asking about a description of a trajectory at this point for Micah Hudson as we look ahead to 2026. So let's talk some wide receivers, but to hear the answer to that, you'll need to be a Matador Mob insider. So hit our show notes and find a link to a free 14-day trial. For those on the outside, this is where we leave you. So make sure you're subscribed on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts so you never miss a thing, and become a Matador Mobster today for less than a cup of coffee a month so you can get the full Mailbag experience next week. Hope everybody has a great weekend. Another one, Sands Red Raider football down, and one more closer to the Orange Bowl, Chris. Appreciate your regulation time. It's on to the OT.
Transfer wideouts fairly active, and could you get one back? Do you still need one even if he does come back? Yeah, we'll let's get to it.
That's coming up next into the OT. Hope you have a great weekend. Get subscribed on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts so you never miss an episode. Thanks to the Everydayers for always riding along, and of course the Matador Mob. Show notes is where you'll find a link to a free 14-day trial. That's your direct line to Chris and myself with one-on-one text sent straight to your phone. For Chris, I'm Casey. Thanks as always for the time. We hope to see you back for the next round on Locked On Texas Tech.